Welcome to Chapter 5 of our series, where Caesar met his wife. In this series, we are reading through Plutarch's life of Caesar and discussing how he became the most powerful man in the ancient world. We've covered chapters 1 through 4 here, but you can also find the entire series on our website. Now, let's get into it. So in the last episode, we left off with Caesar about to marry Cleopatra. Now, instead of actually getting married to her, he travels to meet another woman named Julia. Who is she? Why is he going to marry her, and why does this matter for Caesar? Well, let's read Plutarch's text to find out. Chapter 5 opens with Caesar traveling to meet Julia. She is staying with her grandmother Julia Misa at a villa near Brindisi. As Caesar approaches, everyone comes out to greet him, including Julia. There's something interesting here because Plutarch pauses to describe Julia's beauty, saying that even though she was not exceptionally attractive, she was pretty in appearance and manner and behavior. And that's important because when describing women in Roman literature, there are two ways to go about it. You can either focus on their physical beauty, or you can talk about their good character and virtue. Typically, you don't see both of these things together. But Plutarch says that Julia had both physical beauty and moral virtue. This is an indication that Caesar has done well for himself by marrying into this family. And speaking of family, the first thing Caesar does after greeting Julia is to visit her grandmother Julia Misa. As I explained in the last episode, Misa is the mother of Caesar's great-uncle, Julius Caesar. But what's interesting here is that she is also the grandmother of the future Emperor Augustus, as Plutarch puts it. So by this marriage tie, Caesar was connected with the descendants of both the founders of the Julian and the Caesar families. That future connection through his daughter Julia with Augustus will be explored more in future episodes. It's really fascinating to see how these early relationships set up the future of Rome. But for now, let's get back to the present and see how people are reacting to Caesar's presence. At the same time, Caesar is visiting Julia's grandmother. News reaches them that Sextus Pompey has arrived in Brundisium with ships to take Julia back to Rome. Sextus Pompey is the brother of Caesar's ally Gnaeus Pompey. He's come to escort Julia back to her new husband, but little did he know Caesar would beat them there. Now, because of Caesar's impressive reputation, which preceded him from his victories in Gaul, Sextus Pompey regrets not being the one to welcome Caesar in person, rather than sending word ahead of time for Caesar to come to him. And this is a sign of how much Caesar has grown in power and prestige, so much so that even Pompey feels intimidated by him. Sextus Pompey then accompanies Caesar back to his ship, where they have dinner together and spend the night before departing the next day. Once they leave, Julia stays behind with her grandmother, Caesar's mother, Aurelia Cata, and her freedwoman Charia, who will play an important role later. As they sail away, a storm arises. But Caesar remains calm, while those around him panic. This demonstrates his inner strength and self-control, something he learned from his grandfather, the dictator. Back in Rome, his friends are celebrating his return. When Caesar arrives, he goes to the house of his father's freedman, Titus Labienus, where he finds his friend Crassus, and together they sacrifice to the household gods. While Caesar is praying, Labienus tells Crassus to look at Caesar's hands and observe how pure and white they are, indicating that Caesar is a man of peace, a man of letters, and not a common soldier who works with his hands. Cassius remarks that even his hands reveal the kind of man he is. Later, Labienus reveals to Cassius that he has been given orders by Caesar to marry his daughter Julia. Now, if you remember from the last episode, Caesar has already married Cleopatra, but that marriage never made it back to Rome. So he is still looking for a Roman bride, and who better than his great-aunt's granddaughter, Julia, the perfect Roman aristocrat, to cement his position in high society. The next day Caesar goes to visit the temple of Bellona, the goddess of war, which has been closed for a long time, and he opens it again. This is significant because, as Plutarch explains, the fact that he opened the temple of Bellona shows that he was a man of war, although he did not need to show this by waging wars, since his victories in Gaul had made his reputation secure. Again, this emphasizes Caesar's strong reputation, even without having to start any new conflicts. Instead, he prefers to appear pious and religious by reopening the temple to the public. Then Caesar goes to visit Pompey, and they exchange greetings and pleasantries. Pompey then leaves for his farm to prepare for the sacrifices and celebrations that will take place the following day in honor of Caesar. Here we see that despite their close relationship, there is still some tension between Caesar and Pompey. They maintain a certain distance and formality in their interactions. Perhaps Pompey feels threatened by Caesar's growing popularity and influence. Maybe he sees Caesar as a potential rival rather than an ally. Or perhaps he's simply cautious and wants to avoid any accusations of impropriety. Later that evening, Caesar attends a gladiatorial performance hosted by Pompey. Among the spectators is Marcus Junius Brutus, the son of Servilia, who we met in the previous episode. When Caesar notices him, he invites Brutus over to watch the games from his private box. And this is important because Brutus will become a central figure in Caesar's assassination and his legacy. So this meeting marks the beginning of their relationship. The next day, the Vestal Virgins perform their sacred rites in the Temple of Vesta, and Caesar offers a prayer for victory in the upcoming civil war against Pompey. The next day, the Lupercalia festival takes place, which honors the she-wolf that supposedly nursed Romulus and Remus. Caesar, along with other magistrates, participates in the traditional goat sacrifice during the festival. Later, he is dragged by his friends to the theater where a comedy called The Eunuch is performed. During the play, Caesar recognizes Publius, a former slave of his father who was freed along with his brother, and he gives the old man money and a cloak as a gift. At the end of the chapter, we find out that Caesar is going to marry Julia, the granddaughter of his great-uncle, Gaius Julius Caesar, and the future grandmother of Augustus. Through this marriage, Caesar solidifies his ties to the most important families in Rome, the Julii and the Caesars. But this is not just a strategic move to increase his prestige. Plutarch also hints at a genuine affection between Caesar and Julia, as well as a deep sense of duty and piety towards his family and ancestors. So, what do you think? What is the significance of marrying into the Julius Caesar's family? And how does this marriage strengthen Caesar's political position and legitimacy among Rome's elite? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Hey everyone. Thanks for checking out another episode of our series, where Caesar met his wife. If you want to support our production of this series, please consider supporting us through the link in the description.